Hi everyone, Vladimir from Nowteq Solutions here. Today I would love to talk about how private LLM work. The thing is that we've been asked a lot of times from our partners, from our colleagues, to explain how does the setup of open source large language models or open source LLM work. And why this is important? Because for a lot of people, it's important to understand how does it work. So we have intelligence on premises within our infrastructure. So the data doesn't leave this perimeter. This is in the violet color here on the board. And how does it learn? How do we get this intelligence and how we uptrain it, how we fine-tune it with private data, and again, how do we stay compliant with all these data privacy laws and stay ethical without giving away data to different companies? Yes, so in the center of the scheme, there is a server. This server can be in cloud or on premises. And down on this server, we have a tool called Ollama. Ollama is open source tool to run large language models. And so it makes use of the models that are open, that can be used by anyone, that have been trained in a transparent manner, and that have been published on the internet, and anyone can use it. And it makes a huge difference with OpenAI and other private companies who don't explain how their model works, who don't publish their models. It's not like they should, but again, with this open source, on which we rely a lot nowadays, we get transparency and clear understanding and a lot of flexibility to use it. So with Ollama installed on the servers, we run the models. You can actually browse a number of models in Ollama. There are many ones. For example, Llama 3.1 comes in different parameters. It was published by Meta, and then there is a model from Google. There is a model from Mistral. It's a company that also has an LLM, and many others. Specifically, this one again is quite interesting because it's created and published by Microsoft, but it has a mini version which is quite competent and is very savvy. Then Mixtral, and many other ones. Okay, so we have this installation on the server. So, and it can, by the way, it can also be a model from Hugging Face. Hugging Face is also a large collection of models. And you can also browse them and again, reuse it, retrain it, fork it, and do whatever you want. Basically, you can see the same models like there, and maybe you'll be able to find interesting ones too. So, if we go back to this discussion, again, we use the model. It runs on the server just like any other software, and the interaction that you get with it never leaves the perimeter. Unless you search results, but that's a slightly separate topic. So we have the server to run all this. And on the server, we have in the center of the things, we have a model. One of these, which is in this example, is Llama 370 billions. Again, it can be found here and here. And download. And then let's go back to the user standpoint. So your interaction with LLM, with any LLM, with any large language model starts here with the query. Then you go to interface, again, from any provider. And again, in our example, it's a private provider. So for private LLM, we use a tool called OpenWeb UI. Again, it's down there, so it shares a similar interface. And so user arrives here with a query, inputs it here, and it goes down to this model that runs on your private server. See here, and again, in my example, I'm using V3 Mini. Again, that's a very potent model. I can't praise it enough because it's really usable on mobile. Like I believe Apple Intelligence uses either this or a custom one, but it features the same principle. It's really small, efficient. So, okay, and then you input, but you again, this is very generic, but nonetheless, it's executed down here in your perimeter. And then, okay, that's part of the interaction. Another one, maybe even the most important for automations for business, is the usage via API, access programming interface. I mean, via the code or via an integration or via connection. And then any program, any SaaS, any software that you use locally in the cloud or anywhere else can access this API, which in its turn relies on the open source model run with Ollama. Again, so to sum it up to here, the data, your interactions, and you interact with the server, with the model, the data doesn't live anywhere. Okay, but guess that's not enough for the current use cases because you might just be happy with this non-very private solution available on the market with any other LLM. But however, when you start working and using large language models for the business to process the documents, to process the data, specifically the user's data, or just any private data. I mean, it's most of the internal documentations is not meant to be published for the world to see. And you have to make your LLM make use of it. And unfortunately, that doesn't come out of box, but on the other hand, it's not that hard. So you have the documents, you call this whatever data that you want to use regardless of the format, we call them the documents. And examples of documents, this can be records of the invoices, records from the knowledge base like Nowteq, or any other one like Confluence, or depends on the software that your company uses. Then it can be basically anything else. Google Docs, records from the database, spreadsheets of the Excel, Google Ads results, many, many, many more. Okay, then in order to make use of these documents, again, the pieces of data, just like how we quantify data for the large language models, we have to do something that's called embedded, to embed it with a model, also a model. So it's a second component of this private LLM setup. Again, we have basic model like Ollama. Then we have like model, for example, model to embed the documents like Transformers, Mini, LM, version L6, version 2. And there can be many other transformers. Gotta filter it down here. So it takes a while to search it through. Maybe we can find someone Ollama. And our setup, it uses a model that one from the example. It can be changed. It can be changed. For example, here we have a document and the model to embed this document. Center transformers, all mini LM. It can be any other model. So, and then there is a template how to embed it. That's also a separate topic. So again, what we have here. So we have this large language model that incorporates a lot of knowledge. And down here we have a model to make use of the documents and store them in the mini database. And I guess it's the third component, the mini database that keeps the document embedded. This mini database, it can be ChromaDB, and nowadays you can also use a database like Postgres. Yes, other providers like Oracle or Microsoft probably also support this. Again, we took the documents, we processed them, we embedded them, and stored it in the database. And then next time when the user arrives with a query, by the way, when I say user, I mean also an automated agent. Here, automated agent. So they go to model, interact with the models, just like we do in any other example, UI example. And then these models makes use of these embedded documents. So whatever your knowledge you have, you kind of add it up to the model, to large language model. It's powerful enough. You don't need to kind of fine tune it. It's sufficient to just indicate or point it to your documents, your vector. And in this way, it kind of adds up this knowledge to the existing LLM. And then the results that are returned back to the user also contain these knowledges already. Of course, they are not literally just like they were, but again, with the natural language, that's part of large language model, of course. It delivers quantified, but also kind of human readable results, and in the interactive manner, with what they call RAG augmented retrieval. And that's not all. There is also a fourth component, if we can call it so. There is also search results. So in addition to the results that you kind of extract from the documents at your enterprise, you can also add the search results. Again, there is a catch here, because in this situation, the data will leave your perimeter. It might not be that private. I mean, well, it kind of pulls the data out of search engine, but again, it's not guaranteed. It's not like that it's necessarily happens. At least, I guess the query in even in the shortened form will go out of perimeter a bit. It's just, well, kind of when you hear like search on the internet, of course you think that you assume that it will go somewhere. But again, if the data we're dealing with is not sensitive enough and we're interested in the research that's happening on the web or real-time data, then we might enable it. And in this way, the results that you render from your model, from the documents, will also include whatever they say or write on the internet. And like it's a really powerful one, and it makes a difference in the setup that we have. It's relatively easy to turn this on just by going to settings, admin settings, web search. Currently it's off. Oh no, it's on. But we can just turn it on and off, and even use another provider like Brave, for which you need an API key. So, yep. Then again, we go back to the whole picture. The LLM stub works like this. We have it installed with Ollama. It downloads a model. It also uses a model to embed your private data, which is also assumed, which you assume it also stays within your perimeter and doesn't leave the perimeter. Then it creates a mini database of your documents. And specifically, this piece was not quite obvious to our colleagues. So it doesn't like store the documents per se. It's just when you feed it into this model, in this transformer model, it creates embeddings and stores just the embeddings. And the embeddings are just a table of numbers. Let me put it down quick. So I'll put on a small example here. So the way these documents are stored in this mini database is like in the form of the vector. So it's not the actual documents like invoice or agreement. It's a token, for example, agreement number one. Well, I simplified it a bit, but you get the idea. And you have a numerical representation, and each document becomes a collection of these ones, and it's stored like this in a format readable for LLM. So we have the mini database. We can get search results. Everything in this, it's within this perimeter, the violet one. And we have the user interaction out of it. So in this way, we get a setup that is prone to not prone that suits the privacy. It makes use out of verified models. You kind of handle what's happening, you regulate what's happening, you try it out, you have an optionality of a lot of models, so you might get a very good one for your purposes. So sometimes it's live and learn, sometimes it's trial and error to get one, but good things take time. So, and overall, you feel at your enterprise, you feel safe and you never get questions like why it doesn't work or say like who owns the data, how we make sure the data is private. Of course, it takes some time to find a better model. It takes some time to fine tune the model, especially if you have a lot of data. Also, if you want to pay attention to certain blocks, to certain parts of your documents and to add on to the intelligence of your LLM from this. It might also take time, but overall the process is controlled on there. Okay, please let me know if it was clear enough for you if you find it interesting. And thanks for the attention. Again, we at Nowteq Solutions can create this setup, and we also host. Obviously, we host this model too, and we make use of it to work with data intelligently and to work it with data privately, and our customers do love it. Okay, thank you. That was Vladimir from Nowteq Solutions. Bye.